Hi everyone, welcome for joining us today. My name is Sten Laureyssens. I'm the strategic advisor for the Waves Association. And today I'm joined by both Aleksei Pupyshev and Ilya Sapranidi. I'll give them some time to explain who they are and what precisely they are doing. We're gathered here today to try and answer a few questions that the community has had so far about the progress of gravity tech, and sort of dive into what we have ahead of us, what some of our challenges have been so far, and essentially give a broader overview of what the direction is in the near and mid future. Guys, maybe why don't you sort of start and explain what your role is. Aleksei, you want to cut it off?
Yeah, I can start. Hello, everyone. I'm Aleksey. I'm founder of Ventuary Lab. This is a blockchain development studio and team. We finished several projects. We are mostly working with Waves ecosystem. So our most famous project at the moment is Neutrino stablecoin. And right now we are working on Gravity as well to let Waves ecosystem to be expanded on another chains, on our ecosystem. And we are actually strong believers into blockchain agnosticism, into crypto in general. So I joined crypto several times, but only 2 years ago it was like really a strong relationship between me and crypto and between me and blockchain technology. So yes, we are working on Gravity right now. We are going to build more products on top of Gravity as well, and we are advocating developers to build cross-chain dApps if it's possible. It is almost in 99% possible to do. So we are trying to be an advocate of this thing. Thank you so much. We'll try to show what we have done and what we are going to do with Gravity and the project on top of it.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good so far. Ilya, how about you?
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Ilya. I am the head of products and system research at Ventuary Lab, where I collaborate with Aleksey and a few other very professional people to sort of build a decentralized future that we'll deserve. I can talk about my background a little. So I received my bachelor's degree in complex system science, which is a very specific sort of field. And it is focused on the studies of complex behavior and of complexity that arises in specific types of systems. And so markets would probably be one of the top 5 examples of complex systems. And that's why I find this field very fascinating, because, you know, there's the wisdom of the crowds, the sort of like intelligent behavior and cooperation and competition, all that interesting dynamics. Yeah, that's why I work in this field, because it's very fascinating for me as a researcher. So my second degree was in technology entrepreneurship, and my master's degree. So basically, I have like a decent experience with research-oriented entrepreneurship in various like knowledge-intensive areas such as AI, collective intelligence, and now decentralized technology. Yeah, so I'm also a researcher for Carbon Copies, which is an organization that promotes R&D for whole brain emulation. You know, brain is another complex systems that I'm fascinated with. So yeah, that's about it for my introduction.
Okay, cool. Maybe Ilya, could you sort of, before we dive into Gravity, could you give your view on what you think is like the most important challenge that you think not necessarily Gravity but more like the entire industry, like what's our biggest challenge right now, and could you name some notable like examples of how you think they're currently being solved?
Yeah, so you know, like Ventuary Lab, the team that both I and Aleksey are members of, so we have been working in blockchain for almost 3 years. And as long as I can remember, we've always been focused on like observing and predicting what new challenge the industry might experience next. You know, tackling this challenge as soon as possible by building fully decentralized solutions that adhere to a certain ideology that we all we all are inspired with. So for instance, when the ICO insanity unfolded, we were leveraging the idea of so-called curation markets to make reviewing ICOs more reliable and trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we built the first DAO on Waves platform with grant-making functionality, because we wanted to inspire more people to go into dApp development. That's what the industry needed at the moment. And essentially, like, we're always thinking, like, how do we make the space less competition-driven, more like synergetic and transparent? And at this moment, we think that the issue of fragmentation, we consider the issue of fragmentation to be like the most destructive, in the sense that it creates technological division, prevents us from achieving scaling and synergy. And like, the issue of fragmentation, to put it simply, is the fact that there are separate blockchain ecosystems that are almost like, isolated islands. But I think, it isn't a new problem at all. I mean, it isn't even like a problem inherent to blockchain as such. Any open source project created like in an open manner is susceptible to fragmentation in one way or another. So, to maybe build a little more on top of that, like, at this point in blockchain, we have various ecosystems. All of them offer some special advantages. When it comes to DeFi and dApps in general, I think it is basically Ethereum versus all the others, right?
Yeah.
But like, the biggest doesn't necessarily mean the best. And it's always been sort of weird for me that we have these monopolies in a space focused on decentralization, right? So it's kind of weird. So the question for us, like, the main challenge for us turns out to be, how do we actually breach those gaps and make the monopolistic tendencies go away? So yeah, that's how we started our current journey, with this basic question of, like, how do we tackle fragmentation that leads to monopolistic tendencies, and in technologies and communities as well, and where do we go from here? Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I mean, I think it's fair to say that we probably saw over the past few years, we saw this maybe underneath all the hype cycles of like ICO and that whole like new funding mechanism for innovation. And then I think we saw a very big cycle in centralized exchanges. And we're now seeing like this whole cycle of DeFi, but underneath has been this larger cycle of like improving, let's say, consensus algorithms and like look for better speed and scalable solutions while maintaining decentralized aspects. But I think we're probably now looking at, like what you said, like interoperability challenges, solving that fragmentation while still maintaining scalability, speed, and decentralized aspects of it. So, but yeah, I probably second that. And I guess that probably brings us to Gravity. It was a fun start over the summer. I've seen it happen from like a very close aspect. I only got actually involved with Gravity at a much later stage than the original idea stage, but for me it was pretty clear when I first read the white paper and I first started like really understanding the protocol and the vision behind it. I immediately felt like, hey, this is it's a different approach. But two, maybe because of precisely where it's different, it might have a much bigger chance of succeeding in like a distant future, not necessarily right now, but when we've solved this like fragmentation, I think the next thing in the industry will be what, from my understanding, Gravity has already solved. Aleksey, could you like elaborate maybe a bit more about what I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course. Speaking about interoperability, it's actually a pretty long existing problem. I mean, it started like 3 years ago. The hype started of interoperability like 3 years ago, and we all knew projects like Polka and Cosmos and many others who tried to make it happen, etc. But it's actually a very complex problem because people don't need interoperability. I mean, it's just technical term. Like people wanna use moved services from one to another. They're gonna use liquidity from one from one account to another account, from one service to another service. From user experience point of view, people don't need any kind of interoperability or whatever. But we are working in the space which is more technical, and within this space right now, we have to be focused on technological solution first, because it's not ready yet for customer-facing products. This is actually pretty good purpose for the future, like 3 or 5 years in the future, to build like customer-facing products, not only financial ones, but like to create something which is using blockchain under the hood, and people don't even know that, right? They're just using. Same as with cloud or internet. People just using applications, and they are thinking in pretty easy like terms. Like
they're thinking in like functionality terms. Like they don't think, I'm using this type of technology now. They don't care.
This account, this seed, this blockchain, this network, custom network, blah blah blah. Chrome extension 1, Chrome extension 2, like mobile wallet. A lot of technical mess actually for the people, and it is actually bad. But we are in the stage. Their infrastructure is not ready, so we have to be focused on technology and at the same time on user experience. But users in that terms are mostly like professional users. Like if you are building like Salesforce or whatever, there are also a lot of terms and pretty technical one, integrations, etc. And to use Salesforce, you have to have like some education, right? You have to have some experience.
But I think the reason why this is so important in our industry, I guess, more than any other industry, is if essentially if you fuck up here as a user, you're not talking about, okay, I misplaced that presentation in the wrong folder, or I don't know, I deleted like some client information in a CRM system. Like it doesn't matter, because it's centralized, it's backed up. Like you can't fuck up, essentially. You can't screw around so much that you hurt yourself. What you can do with like crypto, so you could essentially you get such a big let's say like option of influence, like not necessarily ownership, but you as an individual can do so many things that are your right, that precisely because it's your right, you also have a lot of like responsibility. And here it's almost always tied to money. So I just wanted to chime in on that, because it's quite logical, like what the impact is there.
Yeah, of course. So right now we are in the stage where users must be educated, must be qualified for doing operations, for working with blockchain, with crypto, etc. And it's actually like natural selection here, because if users aren't competitive enough, they're just losing money in any cases, like sending to smart contract, or or just forgetting seed phrase, or just losing into bad investments, or like recent scams were about give any rights for your MetaMask account for some scam dApps. So this scam dApp can like withdraw all your money from your account. This is also possible. It's more advanced, because to prevent this, you have to understand what transaction mean, what kind of application you're using. But anyway, we are here in the early stage, and the technological experience is a requirement here. Same as with internet in the early stages, or computer network in early stages, or even with mobile phones in early stages, because only a few people were able to use internet from mobile in early 20s, right? So here we are working on both. We are building new infrastructure to connect different chains together, and at the same time we are looking for ideas, and we are looking for problems which are mostly technical, but by solving those problems, we will bring industry on the next level. And interoperability is pretty much complex task, because this is pretty broad term. We can speak about interoperability as as an instrument. If you have account in one network, will you be able to use DApp on another network, right? This is first idea. Second idea is to transfer assets from one chain to another chain, etc. And there's a lot of things, also enterprise stuff as well. Like if you have supply chain, you have to anchor your computation, your statuses, your data into like main chains, and to prevent any kind of changes or attacks from the future. So this is pretty broad term, and the Gravity will solve both problems at the same time. First of all, it is oracles, because we after a lot of researches, after different kind of like brainstorming, etc., we understood that there is a lot of ways to create interoperability, but most of them are required oracles. Like someone from outside world who will send important information about which network is valid, which fork is valid, which transaction is valid, or different kind of functionality.
Yeah, just any type of data, right? Like just the capacity of like something outside to validate the truth inside, essentially. Could be anything.
Because one blockchain network and another blockchain network, they are just two different worlds. They don't know each other until you create something for communication. And yes, we are solving both. We are solving Oracle solution and at the same time interoperability using those oracles. And oracles, this is also pretty important problem. We are gonna create something like flexible set of oracles, pretty flexible approach, how they can communicate with each other, how they can provide information for different dApps, and different level of permission, different level of like governments. And we are trying to use a pretty simple one. We know that oracles should be trustful. This is just like axiom, right? We can't ignore that fact that oracles must be trustful. So in that case, to measure trust, you have to use something from the real world. And in real world, we have a good analogy, which called reputation. So we are using something like reputation score, actually peer-to-peer score. So you have community, each member knows each other, and they are scoring each other in terms of how they trust each other. So this is pretty self-organizing thing, and we are using Gravity score as a basic layer of how to measure, how to prevent attacks, how to measure trust, etc. So we think it will work, but in terms of target chains, in terms of how information will be verified on target chains, we are using multi-signature, like dynamic multi-signature. It means that the participants within multi-signature can be changed anytime based on this reputation. If you lose your reputation, you are not participant of this multi-signature anymore. If you have high reputation, you have a chance to participate. So this is pretty simple approach. And but yeah, technologically, it is not so easy to make, because you have to work with different environments, different blockchains, different algorithms, etc. But anyway, it's worth to do so.
So would it be correct to say that with Gravity, you're essentially, like, when you look at the main challenge of interoperability or fragmentation, for that matter, that you decided, okay, we have to solve it, and there's many like variables on how to solve that specific aspect, but you identified the clear need for a good Oracle system, while at the same time understanding, okay, what does this cross-chain communication look like? What are all the different scenarios where communication could happen? And then while at the same time, if we look at, as you identified, target chain, so any other chain that would connect to Gravity's core, let's say, protocol, what issues could arise? So like how could we maintain trust? How could we govern like reputation, etc.? Do you think that there's another like specific aspect why, let's say, when you were thinking about why did you design it this way, did you make any specific choices? For example, like, okay, this is maybe like a bit contradictory to what the industry is doing, or we've been pretty conformist compared to other projects. What are maybe some like not necessarily differences with other chains, but just when you were creating the outline of Gravity, what was like the biggest difference maybe in your choice, and also like a bit on like why this way?
Can I just quickly respond to that? So
yeah, sure.
Before we did anything, we started with writing a manifesto, which you can find in our white paper. So basically, we just started thinking from first principles. And Aleksey has already mentioned that cross-chain communication cannot be solved without solving the issue of oracles, and without solving the issue of trust between oracles, and creating like a network of validators. And so and we started thinking, how do we solve that? Then we realized that there's a need for data redundancy, for instance, for redundancy in data sources. So there has to be a variety of data sources for the system to be stable and secure. Then we need to solve the issue of trust and introduce reputation and governance, as Aleksey already said. So I think that it all boils down to Gravity being what is called blockchain-agnostic. And we throw that term around a lot. And I think like by reading the manifesto in our white paper, you can see this this concept sort of will unfold before your eyes. Like what does it entail for a system to be blockchain agnostic? And there are many parts to it.
Of course, there's like there's differences in any iteration for, like, let's say Cosmos, Polkadot, Gravity. Like there's many iterations, but what would you define as your like biggest difference in implementation on a technical level versus others, and but not necessarily from a practical perspective, but more from a why perspective? Like if you have any differences, why this choice essentially?
Yes, I think that the core difference would be that, as you mentioned, like there are solutions out there that already sort of provide that attempt to be like blockchain agnostic, that attempt to sort of glue the different ecosystems together. But we still see like a large gap between what those solutions are and what we can make ourselves, and what we envision as a more optimal, a more efficient solution. So commonly from out of those blockchains that you mentioned, they propose architectures that sort of provide this blockchain agnosticism by introducing some extra layer. So it's usually like a new blockchain and a new native token on that blockchain. And so, as I said previously, like when we start to think from the first principles, and we start to think like what can we strip away? How can we strip away all the unnecessary components and create like a tokenless, a blockchain agnostic system when we just cut to basics and start from scratch? We didn't want to repeat the same story again that everyone else does, like the whole package, a token and a new blockchain. So I think that's one of the things that really distinguishes Gravity from all other solutions. Maybe Aleksey can add something to that.
Yeah, of course. The Gravity is designed to be blockchain agnostic and at the same time token agnostic, which means that there is no native token, there is no new blockchain who is dominating the whole network. So there is an equal opportunity for all target chains to be joined. And despite the fact that Gravity is using internal ledger based on Tendermint, there is no token inside, and this ledger is using for really important purposes: transaction verification, BFT consensus, etc. So this is like only the technical solution without any mention or attempts to attract everything to this like new chain. Or because of any target chains are unequal opportunity to be integrated to implement smart contracts, to implement dApps on top of Gravity. Here is another thing which called token agnostic. The system with the many target chains and internal ledger can work with any token integrated to Gravity. It can be like native token of integrated chain, and this is actually a basic thing because we have to pay fees, etc., and we have to use native tokens or of all integrated platforms, at least for paying fees. But at the same time, oracles or node providers like Gravity validators, Gravity nodes, they can participate in different kind of dApps or smart contracts and be rewarded in any token they want. I mean, it's not a requirement to create a new token and create some kind of new tokenomics, etc. We are designing a system which works with many native tokens, and at the same time stable coins and just liquid tokens on the platform. If Gravity nodes will able and if they will wanna be rewarded in those tokens, so they have enough incentives to participate in the network. And the monetization is actually pretty simple. You have your node within the Gravity network, you have your protection score, and you have activity share, like how many actions important from the network you proceed each day, each hour, etc. And based on those two factors, like reputation and activity share, you are rewarding from the network itself, from the treasury account, and depends on how many applications is using Gravity, how many integrations there is implemented, the more revenue any nodes actually have. And also there is like self-regulation mechanism works too. A lot of people are trying to argue that this is not enough incentives for node providers to add more nodes. Like, it's actually good if you have only one node who is generating all revenue, right, and keep it for itself. But the problem is that if you have only one or two or like a small number of nodes, you have a problem of trust, of course. And this is actually prevents your like community from new integrations. So you have to find trade-off between inviting everyone into the network or inviting someone who will bring more value or more trust or more integrations. And we are trying to balance between both things. We are trying to partner with a lot of like reputable actors in the space to suggest them to be like first ever nodes in the Gravity. And also we are designing something like technical proposal, how they can have benefits from that. And each new partner has new potential integration into Gravity, which means new potential users, which means new potential fees. And we are creating this kind of mutual symbiotic network of partners within one system without any like ICO, etc. This is only beginning. Beginning means we are trying to integrate existing projects into Gravity as node providers at the same time as a technical integrations with different benefits. But at the same time, we are looking for completely new projects which can be built on top of Gravity, like blockchain agnostic from the beginning. There is not so much projects which is trying to build something. Most of them are like built from Ethereum or another chain, and then they're trying to expand on other chains by gateways, etc. Yes. But we are also trying to find the way how to create a cross-chain project from the beginning, from the scratch. And there is finally there is a good thing, because at the moment we have not only one Ethereum with dApps. In this year we have a new blockchains which has user base, popularity, and some traction, and this is pretty nice time to actually combine them both.
Yeah, it's not like dreams anymore. It's like it's becoming reality, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe one thing that was really important for me personally, like that was sort of like my eureka moment when I was diving into the white paper initially, when it wasn't published yet, I was comparing it to, for example, let's say Polkadot, Cosmos, Aeon, and like any most of, let's say, common proposals of technical solutions that there are essentially right now. But the most interesting thing for me is there's this part in the Polkadot white paper where there's like a separate section where they essentially say, we do not it's something I'm paraphrasing, but we don't foresee like there's no issue between Polkadot and the Ethereum ecosystem coexisting together. We don't foresee any issues in the near future, or like it's not like we don't foresee any issues forever, but it's more like we don't foresee any issues right now. And for me, this was very interesting because and it's also obviously written in the white paper, but you essentially say when you have some kind of a proof of stake and the same sort of currency, to call it currency, like utility that is used to pay for services or like any value transfer for something in return in like a network, is also used for governance and is also used for like a range of other things. And I think, Ilya, what you said in the beginning, like this collective mindset of savvy, both investors and developers, and also at the same time like a much more accessible retail inclusion. What I immediately realized is you will have in any of those examples, you'll have a financial mindset that is going to decide the direction of the protocol, because you're going to vote where your money is, essentially. It's literally put your money where your mouth is type of scenario. But if you look at that from an isolated like ecosystem, there's not necessarily an issue there. Like, it's just money inside that ecosystem, and that's fine. But when you look at making a bridge between Project X and Project Y, and both of them are interoperable ecosystems, there's going to be a massive like misalignment, essentially, of incentives, because Project X, of course, wants to be interoperable with Project Y and vice versa, but not at the cost of losing money. And then the collective mindset of such an entire ecosystem will obviously, essentially, you will be limiting innovation, because you will like only be able to innovate as much as your pockets essentially allow you to. And that for me was the most interesting thing, because through Gravity, this issue doesn't exist. There is no like one token like to rule them all. It's like many existing fully like operating ecosystems, and you essentially lever there. So and that's what I was referring to earlier. Like this is potentially a challenge in the future that Gravity has already solved, because in the future, once we have multiple interoperable like working ecosystems, Gravity will be a step ahead, because it's designed from the ground up to like solve that issue. It's maybe a very long preface to go into a question that I wanted to ask.
Yeah, but can I just quickly add
sure,
something?
yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, you're exactly right. And I think another issue, which is very important, I think we will touch upon it today as well, is the issue of liquidity, which also exists largely on Ethereum. And with one blockchain only assets, all the economy actually becomes locked sort of within the boundaries of one network. And I think it mainly hinders the overall pace of market growth, and there's a synergy to be achieved when we introduce solutions that sort of glue it all together. And so one important thing to mention is that with Gravity and using the Gravity protocol, we can build second layer solutions. Like one of the concepts that Aleksey has already mentioned is the concept of cross-chain transfers and wrap tokens. So it's something that we are building solutions for right now already, and it's very crucial to do that. Besides all the like stuff related to building cross blockchain dApps, there's also this issue of liquidity that we're trying to solve, and I think that we will probably talk about that in more detail at the end of the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. maybe like a short, because I think we already touched on like a lot of differences. Like we have our own obvious, like our own
Actually,
solution to oracles. Yeah, sure.
I liked your idea with a comparison of governance and the wealth. I mean, if you look at successful social systems, like governments, pretty successful governments, they are not working as the richer is controlling everything, right? So there is no working approach for social systems for their most wealthy is trying to control every aspects of like less wealthy people or actors.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. We have to build institutions which are independent, somehow independent from the wealth.
Separation of like three main things. Yeah.
And with Gravity, we actually, as you mentioned, we have something like that because we have tokenomics. Of course, you can be provider in different chains, you can earn different tokens, etc. But the most important is trust. So like governance procedures, like how you measure actors, how you measure the trust level, and it's actually independent from the blockchain. I mean, if you have partner A, this partner A is working in different chains, you are measuring like team, you are measuring company, you are measuring trust to this company, user base, and like important factors, not just how rich they are. You are measuring potential to for the network for grow, or potential for this actor to grow and attract more users, etc. You have more factors within your vote, and it's actually more broad and more powerful than just token share within the network. So in that case, you're absolutely right. The system like Gravity is pretty similar to multi-level like governance institutions here, because we have financial incentives at the same time we have reputation, and I think only this thing can work.
You could probably compare it to like what the early stages of a European Union would look like. Like you have multiple countries that all like work in their own environment, and they sort of like contribute to a larger. It's not an exact analogy, but it'll kind of.
It's very bad analogy actually, because euro is not a good token for all countries, right?
Exactly. Absolutely.
And if you are within European Union, but you have like if you have a choice for the which currency to use, is actually more robust, and we are actually seeing these examples. Pretty good example, but from
a good bad example to emphasize the importance. Absolutely. No, but so I mean, you just sort of like summarized the part of what I said. So we sort of had like of course we have like, there's no token for Gravity. There's like our own, of course, like our own technical approach on reputation, our implementation of like data oracle consensus, so to speak. Could you, I don't know, maybe like briefly summarize like where is it different from Polkadot, Cosmos, etc. Like, is there any like concrete examples that you can give? Okay, like this, apart from of course like the like no token approach and then what we've listed so far.
Yeah, of course. The actually value proposition are different. For example, first of all, let's consider Polkadot, because this is most hyped at the moment, and a lot of people are waiting for that. They are not trying to connect all chains together, basically. Probably they tried, but it doesn't work, and I'm not sure if it will work or not, because it's not on their focus right now. They are trying to build the multi-chain systems which can be scalable. This is what they are building, and basically just creating new chain which control every other
one
chains.
ring to rule them all, essentially.
Yeah, and they are building that, and this is actually good, because they have a chance to create something scalable, usable for many applications, etc. Somehow these like parachains can communicate with each other, etc. This is good, but it's not solving problem of interoperability between existing popular chains. If you're trying to build this, you will be facing with problem of you have to somehow create a bridge, and there is no instruments actually. There is just like SDK. Like this is your library, this is another library. Do as you want. There is no like standard. There is no solution for that. Of course, they have solutions for their chains, like parachains, how they communicate, how they can coordinate, etc. And this is good. So they're not solving interoperability. They're solving.
I mean, they're solving interoperability
of their own chains.
Yeah, around their own ecosystem mainly. So
of course, like, and this is not interoperability problem. This is problem of scalability. They are solving scalability problem, and this is something like scaling, like sharding. So Ethereum 2.0 is doing the same thing actually, and we'll see how they will compete with each other or collaborate. But whatever, they're not solving problem of interoperability or liquidity sharing or whatever.
I mean, they're solving like interoperability mainly where scaling is concerned, but not necessarily the other way around.
Between their specialized parachains, actually, it's a good approach. We like Polka. We are looking for approaches how to integrate Gravity into the Polka, how to move all tokens from different parachains to the Gravity
into the Polka. That would be like a 4 to the floor to a like very funny song.
Yeah, nice. So we are looking for that. We are communicating with their developers as well, and there is a lot of potential interest to communicate together and build a system together. This is first thing. We love Polka, but it's not solving interoperability. Cosmos, most loved blockchain for us, especially because we are using Tendermint and we love it. As a technology, it is really cool technology. Like out of the box, everything works. You can just do whatever, custom logic on top of chain, etc. Love it. The problem is same. Cosmos is going to be a hub, and another chains must be like Tendermint based or bridge based chains, which are actually depends from the main chain. And there is good technology. There is some solution to like anchor everything into the main chain, into the Cosmos, but there is no like applicable solution for interchain communication between existing chains as well. The same situation. So
they try to gravitate, but they try to gravitate everything towards them essentially, rather than like merging between existing.
They're trying to attract everything to be anchored into Cosmos, and the Gravity will do the same. I mean, we'll be anchored into Cosmos as well, and we'll do a lot of integrations. It's planned, but it's not solving problem. I mean, they are providing like a protocol which called interchain, inter-blockchain communication (IBC). This is pretty good and pretty like basic algorithm of interchain communication. We are also using that, but this is something like, this is your toolkit, do whatever you want. There is no practical solution which can be scored, which can be analyzed, and which can be like implemented from the like out of the box. There's no solutions. They are also trying to build this kind of ecosystem, and to be honest, they're pretty successful in that, because any Tendermint chain can be named as like Cosmos ecosystem project or whatever. But anyway, it's somehow working, and I think Cosmos also have nice future, same as Polka. It's not all, because we have a lot of specialized solution at the moment. Most of popular chains, they are trying to build bridges between Ethereum, between Bitcoin, etc. For example, RenVM, they're using pretty interesting technology called ZK, multi-party computation and zero knowledge. This is pretty math based approach. Theoretically, it could work, but for any new chain, for any new cryptography and new system, you have to write the doctor like paper. Is it possible or not? And then you have to spend like years to create formulas, etc. This is looks like a good approach, but most like hardest approach at the moment, because any new chain, any new cryptography has to be proven and then has to be implemented, etc. So somehow it works. From for example, for BTCs or anonymous currency, etc., This is only way how it might works in the centralized manner, but
Yeah.
for blockchains with smart contracts is not necessary. This is second approach. We also have specialized gateways. For example, Solana, they built Rainbow, and they also built Wormhole, specialized gateway for Ethereum and Solana, etc. And this is okay. I mean, this is a good thing because the market is showing us that the problem of interoperability is important, and they are providing those solutions. Some of them will work, some of them not. But in that case, I see a lot of new types of products on top of that. For example, if you have blockchain, for example, Ethereum, any projects will try to build gateways, right? For example, Tron will provide different gateways, Solana will provide different gateways, community gateways will also appear, and the Gravity gateways, like a lot of solutions which are pretending to build the same thing. Like you will have wrap token on Ethereum, right? Or on another chain.
Yeah.
Like, and you will have different types of wrap tokens from different providers. And a couple of months ago, I started thinking that it's a bad thing because they will compete with each other, and it's not a good thing for users because they will have mess. Like this is Bitcoin 1, Bitcoin 2, Bitcoin 3, Ethereum 1, Ethereum 2, etc. Like a lot of versions of the same assets actually. But before I met Curve, and after that I start like it changed my mind. Actually, it changed my mind because then you have a lot of services which are providing the same assets. You actually have different levels of services, like times or trust issues, or like speed, or like liquidity. We have different options, and for users, it's also good to have more options than a few options. The problem is who will build something on top of that. If users will use the application, there will be only one BTC without any mention what kind of BTC, like wrapped or REN BTC or any another BTC. It doesn't matter actually. You can solve all those problems, and the user will choose the optimal way to sell it, to buy it, etc. So in terms of user experience, there is no problem. But for users, for developers, it is crucial to have more options, more choices of wrap tokens, of different like liquidity, different kind of arbitrage opportunities, because everything here is building a network of competitive actors who is participating with each other, who is trying to trade against each other, etc. And this is something which brings effectiveness into the market. And because you will be in the place there, everyone competes with each other, and there is no place for inefficient operations. Yeah. Like most of trades will be efficient. There is no arbitrage. There is same liquidity, etc. And this is something which is really important. And I have some experience with working with like hedge funds on different markets, on emerging markets, for example, India or China or Russia, and at the same time trading bots on developed markets like London Stock Exchange, like New York Stock Exchange, NICE, etc. And there is so huge differences between which opportunities are open and are not. And in terms of like developed markets, everything is liquid. You can turn over a lot of capital here, and your strategy must be focused on long-term grow, etc. But on the emerging markets, you have inefficiency everywhere, like everywhere. Any assets, any trades, anything, and this is a good thing for you to join. This is a good thing for you to provide liquidity, and a lot of people will do that at the same time. So wrap tokens and different solutions, like I mentioned before, is actually good. I'm looking for more and more solution, even within Gravity. I hope we'll have like official or semi-official versions of gateways. We will see like projects who is building their own gateways on top of Gravity or outside Gravity, etc. This is pretty nice thing to have. This is pretty nice thing to work with.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that I can definitely follow that line of approach. I don't really have anything to add there. I think we sort of touched everything. maybe
Sorry for a long speech.
yeah, no, it's okay. It was like a long summary. Maybe something slightly more technical, maybe. I think, Ilya, you mentioned earlier about like gravity score. Could you like briefly like maybe re-summarize what is it, and like the mechanism behind it? Like how does it increase like the verifiability? Like how does it play into the securability of like smart contracts, and how do users interact with that essentially?
Yeah, sure. I can maybe start with describing the cycle, or better say, the data flow that happens within the gravity system, and maybe then talk about when gravity score comes in and how it essentially works. So basically, I don't know. Let's imagine like the abstract flow of data from one blockchain to another that happens through the gravity system, and what we found is that the information transfer that happens, in order for it to be secure, it has to be verified with so-called on-chain multi-signature, or another term for that would be a threshold signature. So essentially, we have many nodes in the Gravity network that cooperate, and we choose a subset of those nodes, or those oracle nodes, as we call them. And so when the subset is chosen, one of those nodes becomes a so-called pulse leader. So this pulse leader is a node that is responsible for collecting all the signatures and data from its peers, and essentially the pulse leader sends the data to be verified in the so-called Nebula smart contract on the target chain. So and this data, like the hashes and the signatures, are all read from the internal ledger. And Aleksey mentioned that we use Tendermint as an internal ledger, which is sort of like a bus that connects it all together. It contains all the data, including the data about gravity score. So at every step of the way, when this pulse cycle is performed, peers rate each other. So that's where gravity score comes in. So in essence, gravity score is a measure of trust that peers put into a certain gravity node. So and in our current implementation, it can be either manually written into the internal ledger, or it can be calculated on the basis of automatic evaluations of a node's behavior. And gravity score uses an algorithm which is called agent trust, essentially like a matrix multiplication algorithm, where each node has its own global trust value. So that's what gravity score is based on. And we think that it's not a very innovative concept, but the way we use it, I think, creates a sort of very efficient governance system, sort of even not even governance, but self-governance system within the network. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, that was quite clear. Aleksey, you have anything short to add to that, or?
Sure, of course. So we have something which called Oracle Consensus. We named it as Pulse Consensus, and this requires several steps. First step is data extraction. So any nodes have to extract data from outside sources. After that, they have to hash it and provide this kind of hash of this data, this step is called commit step. After that, they are reveal their data. So we are preventing the mirroring attack here, because if you have node, you can just look at most successful nodes and you can provide their data instead of your own data. So we are preventing that using commit reveal steps. And the final step is actually you have to provide your signature from your seed, from your account, and the data into the smart contract. And smart contract is validating your data, how this data is different from consensus of nodes, and is it appropriate time, appropriate blocks interval to place this data or not, or it's just outdated. So we are doing this kind of checks, validations, etc. And based on this verification, another applications which are like naming as user smart contracts, they can use this data. It can be like prices or events about like locking some token on the gateway, etc. And the first application we built on top of Gravity called gateways. So the gateways are actually user smart contracts who is using this kind of verified data for provide issuance new token from the gateway, or burning token, or lock and unlock on the origin chain. So yeah.
Okay.
Basically, this is how it works.
Yeah. Earlier, you also mentioned something about like the whole tokenless aspect, and then you also dove into like the skepticism around like liquidity, with like having multiple tokens around different chains. But then you also see that there's like really good examples or potential solutions. Could you sort of like summarize the approach that you're taking here, and just sort of like share your thoughts on like how interchain liquidity of not different tokens, but like the same token would look like in the future?
I think we will see more and more products like Curve, which is basically exchange for the same token.
Yeah.
And with different incentives on top of that. And yeah, I'm expecting to see more Curve-like systems with really flat formula of exchanges, because Uniswap formula doesn't work here. You will always have like huge slippage for the wrap tokens, so it doesn't work. And yeah, but to be honest, I don't know exactly how it should work. I mean, we have to go all into that space. We have to face with problems appeared, like user experience, capital efficiency, etc. We have to bootstrap a bit, like which solutions are working, which are not working, and after that we'll see something new, something like you can't explain right now, or it can be as simple as like 1 plus 1 is 4, right? And we don't know it yet before we started to experiment with that. But to be honest, I see most of Ethereum DeFi projects that are trying to be cross-chain as well. They are using another approach. They are trying to build like product branches or product versions on different chains.
Yeah.
Probably it will work, but it's not solving liquidity. So liquidity will be a problem after that. So let's see, because before liquidity, we have a lot of issues with user experience, basically, because everyone is using MetaMask, and like less than 1% is using another Chrome extensions, and same with wallets, etc. So we have to find a way how to migrate those people, what to suggest, because we have chicken egg problem here. No liquidity on chain, no users, no dApps, no liquidity. So we are doing.
But we also don't have any system to incentivize that liquidity.
Of course.
So, but I mean, if there is a system, it would probably like solve itself.
Yeah, and simple solutions like, hey, let's create farm. Sorry, let's create farm and let's print token for someone to incentivize to use another chain. It also doesn't work, because it's same as airdrop. Like, of course, you will attract some attention, but it's not robust enough. Like, it should be something more sophisticated, probably, or more robust, more long term oriented, etc. So this is a problem. We don't know how to solve it 100%. We know some ideas. We will try to make it. We will convince another people to do that. We'll participate in like a lot of governance around that, etc. But yeah, this is a problem. We have to solve it. But again, it's just midterm problem.
Yeah.
because finally we have to use blockchain and crypto as a basic layer, and people should know what kind of technology is under the hood. Same as with cloud. So this is more strategic goal here.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think we sort of covered, let's say, like main idea, or let's say the main schematic outline of like Gravity, what's behind it, like touched on some, let's say, technical advantages or like our choice in implementation. That sort of probably brings us to where we are now, like what's happening right now, where are we in the technical development, and then maybe after that we could also take a brief look at the future. Ilya, you want to sort of take a dive into what's happening right now?
Yeah, sure. Let me quickly go over it. So so far we have successfully integrated 4 blockchains, fully integrated Ethereum, Waves, Binance Smart Chain, and Tron.
Okay.
So we released the development net version in September, and the current DevNet version contains 3 separate subprojects. The first one is a framework for integration tests. We built that because we want to enable sort of quick target chain integration. And we propose this integration test framework as sort of a development flow for new developers that can just get into the Gravity ecosystem and integrate new target chains. The second project is a set of images or containers for launching a node on cloud platforms with just one click for node providers. And the last but not least is a cross-chain gateway for tokens called SUSY, or supersymmetry. As you can see, we are very keen on physical terms. So basically, I can just maybe go further into details of the last one, because I think it's the most important. So cross-chain gateways, they already work in public testnets of all the integrated chains that I mentioned. And as we already stated, I think it's important to note that like Gravity itself does not solve the problem of cross-chain transfers and wrapped tokens and the applied problems of interchain communication. So basically, that's why there is a protocol built on top of it called SUSY. And the most basic procedure that this protocol has implemented is actually cross-chain token swaps. And I think that right now we can just roll the demo that will show what we have in this regard.
Yeah, sure. Let's fire away.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Do that.
Hi everyone, I'm Ilya from Ventuary Lab, and today I'm going to be showing you Gravity, the ultimate blockchain-agnostic solution for cross-chain communication. So far, Gravity has partnered with a large amount of very prominent projects in the industry. And a very important note here would be that most of these projects listed in this section have agreed to become validators of the Gravity network, meaning that the teams behind these projects are going to be owning Gravity nodes, helping to bootstrap and further expand the network, making it more decentralized and hence secure. Moving on, if you are a developer or if you represent a developer team, you can study our documentation, which is updated frequently at docs.gravity.tech. If you want to participate in the development of Gravity or integrate a new target chain, this will surely be a helpful and valuable resource for you. Go to docs.gravity.tech for more info. So, the next important thing I'd like to show to you is Gravity Explorer, which allows node owners to monitor their nodes as soon as they become active in the network. It displays various parameters such as gravity score, for instance, and it currently shows 2 initial nodes owned by the Ventuary Lab team, but many more nodes will come soon. And now let's move on to something even more exciting. Gravity has an extension built on top of it called SUSY, or supersymmetry, which is essentially a cross-chain gateway that allows to swap a token from one chain to another. Let me just demonstrate how it's done right now. So to demonstrate how SUSY operates, I'm going to be swapping from Waves StageNet to Binance Smart Chain testnet. And first and foremost, since we're swapping from Waves, I have to connect my Waves Keeper extension before I can do anything. So let's click on Connect New Wallet and then select Waves. That's instantly connected for me because I've already done the setup, but you would probably have to go to your Waves Keeper extension and approve the usage of this UZ application. However, before I can swap anything, I need to have some tokens. So for that purpose, we have created a simple faucet based on the Waves dApp service. By using that faucet, you can easily receive some WBNBs to a Waves StageNet address to do the swap. To use the service, go to the link that we're going to be providing in the description of this video and just click on Invoke. And then approve the transaction. So 5 WBNBs will be sent to your Waves address. Now let's go back to Suzy again and wait for the balance to update. That just happened. So now we can just go ahead and copy any Binance Smart Chain address that we have access to. For instance, this one in my MetaMask. Which is already set up to work with Binance Smart Chain. So let's copy that and paste it into the to address field. Now let's type in 1 to receive 1 WBNB on the Binance Smart Chain. Click Next. Then you will need to read and agree with the terms of service and press on Swap. Approve the transaction. So as you can see, the transaction has been sent and we can monitor the results on both blockchains. Now let's take a look. As you can see, our transfer request has already been finalized on Waves. And the second part of this transaction should happen on Binance Smart Chain. So we can look that up on BSC scan. And as shown on the screen, the status of the transaction reads success, which means that the swap of 1 WBNB token from Waves StageNet to BSC testnet has been made successfully. That's the end of the Gravity demo for today. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, so as you can see, that demo fully enlightened me. It's no, it was a good sort of wrap up on what's possible and like what we practically can do so far. I'm curious to see like where that's headed in let's say the near future. Maybe on a note in regards to Suzy, there's this funny song in Dutch called Satellite Suzy. It's like about a satellite named Suzy, and the guy sort of like sings on every time the satellite sort of like passes around. I don't know, sort of popped up
That's
while
cool.
the demo was.
I'll definitely gonna listen.
Yeah,
to
I'll
later.
Thank you. Okay, so like, what's next? Like, where do we go into the future, and maybe at the same time, sort of like intertwining, like if we go into the future from like, let's say, a technical perspective, who is that for? What can we expect, and like who are we targeting with that future?
I can say.
I think you can both sort of like answer because it probably makes.
Yeah, sure. Let me go first, and then Aleksey will conclude. So I think that one of the most exciting things that is coming up is a series of hackathons, where we are going to ask development teams to integrate a new blockchain as a target chain of Gravity, such as Solana, for instance, involving the use of our integration test framework. Mm-hmm. And so Gravity aims to be as open as possible in terms of development. So we expect there to be many more hackathons like that. And then I think Aleksey will probably touch upon that. Gravity mainnet launch is coming up, the alpha version. And like initially, the set of nodes, the validators that will be participating in the alpha testing of the mainnet launch, there are going to be the Gravity nodes deployed by ourselves and by the initial set of Gravity network partners. Yeah, maybe Aleksey can add to that.
Yeah, of course. We have pretty practical oriented plan for the launch, actually. We are going to launch alpha version in the mainnet with all integrated chains Ilya mentioned, like Waves, Ethereum, Tron, and Binance Chain, SAP, like within a couple of days, actually. And our approach is to make product usable from the beginning. Of course, it will be alpha, not audited, etc. So there will be a lot of risks of losing capital or issues, etc. But this is how we launched Neutrino, for example, in the first days in the production with a lot of warnings, etc. And we found something, but we are going to launch in the same manner with Gravity. Yeah. So for Gravity, we have two projects which will have benefits from the first days of release. First of all, it is Neutrino token, like Neutrino dollar USDN gateway to Binance Chain. As you probably know, Ethereum version of gateways is pretty successful. There is a lot of liquidity on Ethereum, etc. We are not expecting the same level of popularity in Binance Chain, but it's mostly for long-run projects, for bootstrapping, for testing, for attracting users, bounty users who will find like bugs and issues, etc., and to bootstrap liquidity here as well. So this is first application on top of Gravity, and we'll launch mainnet version. We'll launch Gravity nodes. Most of those nodes will be from the team of Gravity, who is developing Gravity, of course. From Waves, from our partners, we'll try to reach more and more partners from our network we already have to join this network and to work within it. And the second thing is to launch a gateway for most popular projects on Waves to Ethereum as well. This is Signature Chain. This is also one of the most popular projects on Waves right now, who is looking for ways how to go into Ethereum ecosystem and find holders and users there. So we will attract, and we are already working with this product, with this team, to help us to bootstrap organic activity around Gravity and the gateways here. And after that, we'll see which issues we will face, which problems we'll met, and how to solve it, like a trade-off between security and centralization and decentralization. We try to find a way how to work in production, because only production matters. Only in production we'll create a proper monitoring system, proper incentivization system for nodes to join. We can measure any kind of economical aspects, like how much fees we are paying, how to optimize it, etc. So it's hard to measure on testnets because they have different like dynamics, like capacity, etc. So we have to test in prod, and we are actually trying to test in prod within a couple of days. Hope we'll be successful. There will be not huge bugs and capital losing in the first days of release. But I think we'll try to face reality and the production as soon as possible, and we are actually ready for that. I mean, all systems are ready, and we can make it happen within a couple of days.
That sounds nice, I would say. I'm not sure if there's anything really to additionally touch upon. I think we covered a lot already. I don't know, any closing thoughts maybe?
I can mention.
Of course you can. You always have something.
After first steps of mainnet release, like alpha version of GravityNet, we'll definitely need alpha testers. Like someone who will try provide transactions, who will find bugs, who will
will you incentivize them with a token to do that?
I think Gravity token, just joking. No, I think we'll organize something like bounty program, same as we did with Neutrino. We found a lot of feedback and activity there. So I think we'll organize that together with Waves Association. It will not be a hackathon, it will be a separate activity for like anyone, traders, users, holders, investors, developers, whatever, anyone who will find it interesting task. And yeah, so I'm asking people to join, to keep updated, and it will be fun.
Right. I mean, that it's a pretty comprehensive overview, I think, of where we are now. It would probably be interesting to sort of do that again, say in like post full mainnet launch, somewhere like early 2021. Let's commit to that. Probably it would be interesting to see. I think for me personally, I'm of course I'm less thinking about like the technical short-term implementations of Gravity. I'm much more looking forward to the like the bigger idea behind like what probably, of course in my personal opinion, has a very good chance of putting Gravity ahead when there's like multiple fully operating interoperable or so-called interoperable ecosystems out there. As you said, like more focused on parachain and scalability, but in a way interoperable. I think when we see that like establishment of the industry in let's say 6 to 12 months from now, I'm really excited to see how Gravity will be ahead at that stage. Purely from the human mind, like psychology behind it. So anyway, I guess we can probably wrap that up. The light is gone, so I'm no longer enlightened anyway. So it's good to stop here. Thank you for watching, and let's see you in 3 months from now.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.